Welcome back to the Links Golf Podcast. Happy Thanksgiving, or happy late Thanksgiving by the time you'll be listening to this podcast. I'm Al Lunsford, digital editor for Links, joined by Joe Passov. We're going to get things going today with an episode that's sort of Thanksgiving adjacent, I guess. We're trying to think of a good idea that could work. And so what we came up with is this idea of a big 36-hole day, a fantasy feast, if you will, where you get to play a lot of golf, stuff a lot of things onto the itinerary. Um, we're limiting it to U.S. courses and public courses, although we are going to allow for one private U.S. course, a la something that you only have on special occasions like Thanksgiving. There are certain foods you only eat every Thanksgiving. This is a private course. You may only get the chance to play every so often on a special circumstance. So that sort of sets the table, if you will, for this conversation, Joe. And before we get into that, I want to know two things. So first, I would like to know what your favorite Thanksgiving food is, and then I'll ask you a follow-up.
Man, oh man, you have touched a nerve, Al. I love Thanksgiving meal. It really does border on adulation. Um, yep, I'm just one of the happiest moments in life. Really, is that just as everything is being brought out and the turkey is being left to cool for a little bit. And my brother and I had a long tradition of picking this up from my father as he was carving the turkey, of kind of picking away at it. As
Yeah,
things got carved, oh, I'll just snatch that little piece right there.
yeah, taste
Yeah,
test.
yeah,
Sure.
passes the taste test. Um, and then I got to believe that, yeah, right, turkey and stuffing. I mean, the dressing, whatever you call it in your part of the world, uh, that does it for me. I mean, sweet potatoes, mash, and not only do I love the whole meal, and it's reflected on my waistline, but the leftovers that go with it, sometimes for days and yes, dare we say weeks, and it's just about enough to last into the Christmas
Yeah.
season. Where you're ready to do it again. But yeah, I mean, plain and simple. I've got some happy sides. I'm a pumpkin pie fan, prefer it with a little actual whipped cream. But yeah, just basic turkey and stuffing, and I'm a happy lad.
The classics, the staples, play the hits, as they say. So, yeah, I'll the dressing part is something unique we do. I don't know if how many people do this or know about this. The oyster dressing, Joe, where you've got the oysters inside. Um,
Yes, sir.
Very good. That's sort of like a family traditional recipe. Uh, I love a deviled egg. That's
Ah,
just as something else on the side, something different. Don't have those. Uh, Seems like Thanksgiving's the one time of year you can rely on those. Um, and yeah, I think a broccoli casserole is great. I mean, you can make a casserole out of anything. Uh, Squash. Yeah, but if I'm gonna go in the great debate, a lot of people go ham nowadays
yeah,
instead of turkey. I still like a turkey with the gravy. You're just not
yeah.
getting every 364 days of the year, other than those leftover days, as you mentioned, are sliced deli meat turkey. This is the good stuff, and it needs the gravy on top. So that's where I'm at.
Absolutely. A gravy. I'm a gravy man myself. Uh, Ups into make your little lake and mashed potatoes, and then finally, it just wouldn't be me without a discussion of sliced cranberry in a can versus the actual cranberries made in a sauce. And I have to say, although there's been a great deal of debate in my household for 25 years, I like the canned stuff.
Mm. Yeah, see, we didn't. I didn't grow up with the cranberry sauce. It never was really part of our Thanksgiving equation. I have tried it, and it's fine. I'm not reaching for it, but I'm not against it, certainly.
Well, I'm already thinking happy thoughts about this feast
Yeah.
to come, and it's taken place as this podcast airs. But you did pose an interesting idea for us to discuss today, a feast of our own,
Yeah.
when it comes to uh, great golf courses and specifically great nines. And lay out the premise, Al, because it was very tasty.
Yeah, okay. So we're gonna do four different nines. Have to be US and public. One of those nines can be a private course. So in your fantasy day, you're gonna go yeah, it can be all front nines, it can all be back nines or second nines, which might give you a hint at one of my picks. Um, and you can only choose a course once, so you can't just say I'm going to play Pebble Beach front and back. We're picking one of the two sides, and it's um, a 9-hole set as on the scorecard, not like a sequential thing either. So you couldn't go like I'm going to take 7 through whatever it is at Pebble Beach and start on the seventh hole or start on the sixth hole and go from there. It has to be a front or back nine, four different courses, and the end is your 36 hole fantasy feast. Does that make sense? That you think I explained that okay?
I think you did okay
Okay.
with it. I think it'll be much clearer once we jump in, but
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a fantasy feast, taking 9 holes from different courses, putting them into two 18s apiece. And we're going to stuff ourselves with with great golf.
That's right. All in one day. Well, certainly, I don't know how realistic it is in terms of travel to get this done in 24 hours, but we did limit it to the U.S. So, in that respect, we're leaving off. Some people's minds might have gone immediately somewhere in the UK or Australia, something like that. But we're not going to cover that today, so you won't hear us talk about any of those. But Joe, being that our sponsor this season is Tourism Ireland, did you have an Irish nine that came to mind on one of the great courses on the Emerald Isle that had we done a world list in this conversation, might have been considered for you?
Wow. Um, there are absolutely some great Irish nines because there are some absolutely great Irish 18s. Um, the first one that came to my mind uh, would be Ballybunion's old course. And that's partly because um, the 11th hole, par four, that goes along the ocean, the beach down to the right, up on the cliffs, basically, uh, is one of my favorite par fours of all time. And and then you just get a lot of solid holes. You come back with another fabulous par three at the 15th, tucked in the dunes. It just was the first one that came to mind. But there were two others that came rushing up there pretty quickly. Of course, the old head. Um, again, it's way up on the headlands, so the drama, the thrill factor is just incredible. And I mean, just pick a golf hole on that back nine, and the front nine is loaded with with incredibly memorable opportunities as well. But the 12th hole, which kind of a partially blind drive, curves around to the left, and just don't get too close to the edge because it's a long way down, but absolutely thrilling. And then again, kind of coasting home, you got more opportunities for that excitement. And then, I must say, Waterville. I wrote about it earlier this year for Links, and the 11th hole there. long been one of my favorite par fives, but you have two incredible par threes at 12 and 17 that just, yeah, again, I mean, you cannot go wrong with any of those three nines with Ballybunion, Old Head, and Waterville.
Well, as we do nowadays, and Joe, I'll take your word for all of those. But as many people would do, we go to the AI machine for such questions every now and then. So returning that query, yeah, I looked up best front nine in Ireland, best back nine in Ireland. Yeah, Ballybunion, like you mentioned, is on there. On the back, another one, Tralee gets a nod as a contender. And there's the famous Arnold Palmer quote about that course. I may have designed the first time, but surely God designed the back. So high praise there. Uh, Other contenders, Royal County Down, Waterville was in there. Front nines, they look at Royal County Down and the Port Stewart, the Strand course as a pretty good front nine. That's what pops up.
Well, yeah, I mean, this was a top of the head thing. Royal County Down may well have the best front nine on the planet of any golf course anywhere. It's just incredible. And now that you mention it, that I possibly would elevate that above the three choices I gave you. Um, and there's room to recommend for Lahinch as well.
Mm.
Getting some of the most famous Old Tom Morris holes and some Alistair McKenzie holes. That's a pretty healthy combination, especially for that front nine. So, man, yeah, we can do a whole other podcast just on the glories of the great nines across the pond.
We certainly could, but don't just take Joe's word and artificial intelligence's word for it. Go and book yourself a trip so you can find out and determine what your favorite nine holes is in Ireland by going to ireland.com/golf. Get your itinerary set. Make some determinations. Be the seasoned voice in the room with knowledge of what the greatest golf in Ireland is. Again, that's ireland.com/golf. And that'll lead us into our US list, Joe. So we're going to go back and forth as we do, each giving a nine. Yeah, I set it up. You don't have to do yours this way, Joe, but I kind of had like a first 18 and a second 18 of the day. Um, so we'll start one place, and the way mine worked out, even though you could do, four front nines, three front nines and a back, something like that. I actually had a front, a back, a front, a back for my list. So it sets up naturally as a 36 hole day. And I want to say yours is the same, but depending on if your choice has changed or your order changed.
Nope, I kept them the same, and did a lot of thinking about it after after I finished my list and second guessing myself, but I'll stick with it.
Well, I had my biggest thing was I picked some places that I really like. I could have, being like this being a fantasy thing, I could have picked places that I haven't seen before to just be like, all right, I got to check out this because of everything I've heard. But ultimately, I settled on some familiar places that I'd like to go back to. Um, and that starts with my first one. So this is a realistic, actually, endeavor for me. This first 18 holes, which we'll get into the back nine after. But starting my 36-hole day, I'm starting at Spyglass Hill at Pebble Beach Resorts, and yeah, I've consistently gone back. We have an event every year to Pebble Beach, where we play the three courses there. We'll be going back this March, and taking a group. Not getting a chance to play Spanish Bay because that's under the knife. So Poppy Hills is part of that itinerary, but Spyglass and Pebble are always part of this. And In some ways, I really look forward to playing Spyglass Hill. Maybe it's the immediacy because the start at Spyglass is so good. Like obviously Pebble is Pebble and it's great. You sort of have to get to the really good holes after a inland sort of start. But Treasure Island, the par five first at Spyglass, immediately puts you in this stretch of holes that's spectacular. I really love a starting par five, which is the case for both of my picks for front nines. But down the hill towards Monterey Bay, uh, the par five first at Spyglass, then that gets you over to short par four, perched up top on a hill down to a short elevated par three hole towards the ocean. The great par four fourth at Spyglass with that skinny hourglass green 55 yards deep. One of the more unique putting surfaces in the entire world. And then you have another par three with ocean views before you kind of dive back into the forest for your final four holes of that nine. But um, a really good set. And yeah, it's in terms of like a five hole stretch, it's amazing. I put it up there with anything. Um, but standing on the first hole of Spyglass, I always know I'm in for something special right away, which is really why I like it as a front nine set of holes. So that's where I'm going to go. Sunrise at Spyglass to start the day.
Ah, that's nicely put. Um, and what a great choice. Spyglass has met universal acclaim, especially as it's gotten in better and better condition over the years. And and I say universal acclaim because it's always in the various top rankings lists, but it's always suffered in comparison to its neighbors, Pebble Beach and Cypress Point. And now, to an extent, as the world has gotten to know Monterey Peninsula Country Club. Well, Spyglass was generally considered the toughest course that the pros would play during the AT&T or Crosby in the old days, unless the wind was really blowing pretty good at Pebble. And it was just, I think some of the critics would point out that it was just sectionalized in maybe a way that was not advantageous because you have these first five holes that play like Pine Valley, where it's going from grass to over the dunes and then grass and over the sand and over the dunes and then the ocean in the backdrop, two, three, four, and five, and really in the back of one. And then even the holes that get into the woods, starting with six, and then eight, just this weird reverse camber par four that used to be one of the hardest par fours on tour, even though it was under 400 yards. Just all kinds of greatness going on there. And, again, fantastic pick. I'm a long time fan of Spyglass since I first played it 45 years ago. And and there you have it.
Yeah, really beautiful and then challenging into the nine there. Eight and nine are both super tough par fours to elevated greens. So you get a nice mix of everything. Joe, go to your first nine on your list.
Okay, we're drifting a shuttle ride away from Spyglass Hill to Pebble Beach. That's my opening nine in my fantasy feast celebrating Thanksgiving. So, Al, if you like a rip snorter to start your round and with no let up, that's the orchestral equivalent of the trumpets blasting,
Mm-hmm.
blaring, bum, 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 bum. Okay, right off the bat. With Pebble Beach, it's some really soft flute and violin with a gentle opening handshake. A little par four on flattish ground, goes left to right, And really, all that's going on with that shot is that there's so many people watching you in proximity to the first tee that it feels like you're teeing off in a tournament. And then the second hole, which plays as a par five for most people, is really gettable and almost a certain par five, par, and maybe a birdie for a good player. So, not too much going on just yet, but it's that gentle introduction. And now at the third hole, we're going to make the turn on the dogleg left, and the music and the suspense is going to start to build. Again, not a long hole, but you get your first glimpse of the ocean behind the third green. Then at four, the short par four to this minuscule green. So you got to put something in play there. Today's pros can give it a go in the right circumstances and get right next to the green, but prudent play says lay up with the right club, give yourself a number in. And then the new fifth that Jack Nicklaus built in 1998, 97, 98, I guess. Um, Great, solid par three. Certainly a better hole from all the way back. But if the hole location is to the right, it's all the golf you could possibly want with your first over the ocean shot. And then six, a hole that with my modest skills, especially length, I have never really been able to figure out. All of a sudden, you're confronted with this landform that just boggles the mind. Off we go straight out to a fairly generous fairway, big long bunker on the left. And then you got to climb like 40 feet worth of cliff. And if you're not up to hitting a solid second with a fairway wood or a hybrid, there's that chasm where your ball's just going to disappear, or you're not going to get it up on the crest of the hill and you got this blind third. If you do have some talent, can bust a solid drive and then get it over the hill and even have a chance to reach the green, hey, good for you. That's a lot of excitement to have as a possible eagle opportunity, but just such a weird topography out of nowhere and spectacular. Then a hole that I truly adore is the downhill par three seventh, where even me on a normal calm day, it's a sand wedge down the hill, stunning, the best frame target in golf, unless it's the second shot to the eighth, which might be the best frame target in golf. We all know that blind, nothing tee shot up over a hill, and then what awaits is what Jack Nicklaus said, the best second shot on a par four in all of golf. And to finish off the nine, just a brutish par four in the 450, 460 range. Ocean on the right, up on the cliffs. Uh, Again, your better line if you can hug the ocean, the right side, with your tee shot, you'll have a better stance and a better angle. And the rest of it, the safe play out to the left, and it's going to be that much more of a daunting approach shot. Uh, Love Pebble Beach's opening nine for all of the reasons I articulated.
Yeah, I really talked myself into Spyglass over Pebble, and I think you may have just talked me back into uh, the what was I thinking territory. I mean, yes,
And I
there.
like your choice of Spyglass.
Yeah, you're
Yep.
absolutely right about the slow build to an incredible set of holes that really begins on the fourth. When you get your first glimpse looking down into um, Monterey Bay, and you can see the beach. You can see a ball that you've hit on the beach if it's right there in that sweet spot next to that right side bunker. Um, the sixth hole, Joe, I haven't figured that one out either. I think the play may just be to blast it as far left as you can into like eight fairway or eight rough. Because you're right, if you try to take on the chasm or the hill, like that's the only way to end up in the fairway. You can take it left of that and be safe. You're probably going to end up in a set of fairway bunkers over there. Um, so maybe it's just like hug the left side the entire way you go to avoid the cliff. But then again, you're staring at a shot over bunkers to a putting surface. You have to hit your target on the approach from way over there and not go long um, past it into the cliff. Seven, just a hole that you can never get tired of seeing or playing, no matter how many times you do it. And it's only 107 yards. Um, Absolutely gorgeous. Eight, so tough. Nine, also extremely hard. Nine, I haven't really been able to figure out how to make anything better than bogey on that hole either. So, um, gosh, it's just so good. I just want to hop on the plane right now. But we're not doing that for my back nine. We're going to stay on the Monterey Peninsula even. So very, very heavy oriented golf podcast here on one small area of the country. But the back nine at Pacific Grove, Joe, the sort of People's Muni there in on the Monterey Peninsula, called the Neville Nine, designed by Jack Neville, he of Pebble Beach fame. They have a rate for folks to just go and play this nine because of how great it is, and sort of in comparison to that front nine, which is wedged in between a bunch of houses, suburbia there. This back nine gives you all the coastal views that you want at a minuscule fraction of the price that you're going to pay for them to go and play Spyglass and Pebble just up the road. But it starts with a 100-yard par three. It's sort of nondescript, just a turn hole, ease you back into your round after you've grabbed some refreshments. Then you get a par four, short but a big landing area, only about 280, that has a green tucked into a dune. So you get your first taste of that, the dunesy nature of this nine holes right there. Beautifully framed green. Go behind the green, climb a hill, and you're met immediately by a par five with the ocean lined entirely on the left the whole way down. And it's just breathtaking. For a public course, municipal course, to give you this kind of view for the value, it's striking. It's some. I mean, I'd heard about it before I played it the first time this past year, but it still just sort of takes you aback to be like, wow. I mean, I can't believe that people just have day to day access to this. And it's not really cost them anything. I mean, what the rates now? I'm looking at this on the fly, but 18 holes, Monday through Thursday, $65, 86 on the weekends. Again, you can play the back nine only, the first 75 minutes of daylight for 45 on weekdays, 59 on the weekends. So you have basically the ocean views, the almost the entire rest of the way, and the course along this dunes ridge line just sort of doubles back on itself over and over. So after that par five, you've got four consecutive par fours that just kind of go back and forth up towards this nice looking Point Pinos lighthouse beacon. So you're getting closer and closer to that beacon, playing between dunes. There's wildlife out there. There's just deer walking around, and then the course is on the shorter side. So a lot of these are not going to beat you over the head. They give you an opportunity to risk something and do something really great, but you've got to be careful and patient because hitting out of those dunes is no fun. The last two holes are a par three over a pond right next to the water as well. Monterey Bay on your left, and then short 294 yard par four 18th that goes back up inland. Um, and it's, nothing in comparison to the holes that preceded it, but uh, gives you a chance to walk away from your round feeling good about yourself. I mean, it's a pretty easy, manageable hole to make a par on at hopefully worst. So, um, pleasant, surprising, affordable. Pacific Grove is a gem, and the back nine there deserves all the acclaim that it gets. So that's what my second nine of the first 18 is going to be.
Al, again, I tip my cap, a golf clap for this choice. Uh, Clearly, it resonated with you in probably an unpredictable way. To have waited kind of this long to finally get a chance to play it, and your eyes were opened, and not just with the charms and the challenges, but the value. So I first saw Pacific Grove 45 years ago.
You got to work on that
And
cough.
I was lucky enough to play it many times after that. And in the early days when I was playing that golf course, I could look up maybe when they switched the nines, but it used to be the front nine. Um, and what's remarkable about that is that folks like me would just, it's a muni. They had a 9 hole rate. You'd pay the going rate, you'd play the front nine and say, I'm happy, I'm done. Uh, the current front nine, Chandler Egan, uh, very fine architect who also worked on Pebble Beach, um, is okay. There is nothing bad about it. It kind of parkland that wanders through a little neighborhood. And again, for the money you're being charged, it's perfectly good golf. But the two nines could not be more diverse. And so we go for the back nine at Pacific Grove. And I mean, to think about such a minuscule green fee to get ocean views, to get a lighthouse actually there, where it's right next to you as you play a couple of the par fours. Um, yeah, not every hole is terrifically challenging, but you've got those big dunes on the little second hole, the 11th hole, the par four, and then again, arcing around with the ocean on the left at 12. Just pure fun. Super easy walk. It's pretty flat. And again, just a, well, I don't know if we had a Thanksgiving item to compare it to. Is it the kind of something with marshmallows?
Hmm.
Just
Yeah, sweet potato
uh,
casserole with the
okay,
marshmallow topping. I like that.
kind
Yeah.
of sweet, soft, kind of a happy place.
Hmm.
Um, well done. Um,
Light portion usually because you got to save room for the dessert. It's similar to the pumpkin pie. Yeah. Well, going back to that, the front nine at Pacific Grove is funny because it starts out back to back par threes, then back to back par fours, then back to back par fives in the first six holes, and you get back to back par threes again on 9 and 10. So it's not the first time it happens. That happens twice during that round where you're playing two consecutive one shotters. So
it's sort of the Noah's Ark of golf course architecture. We'll just take two and then two and then two. All
mm,
right, perhaps that's a stretch.
yeah, we'll save that one the next time we have to write about this place. That's a good. I like that line. All right, wrap up your first 18.
Al, we're sticking with quirky routings and sequencings, uh, and we're also staying on the West Coast and something that overlooks the sea. And my back nine for my first fantasy 18 is going to be the back nine at Pacific Dunes up at the Bandon Dunes Golf Resort. Um, it's one of the greatest modern courses of our time. 2001 Tom Doak. still continues to rank very, very high, no matter who does the rankings. I still believe it's the best golf course at Bandon Dunes, and the back nine I'm particularly smitten with because as it revolves around my own game. So at my best, Al, I was a very steady, straight hitter, but length was an issue. I just couldn't drive it far enough to do well enough on a succession of challenging and especially long par fours. Well, the back nine at Pacific Dunes could not be better suited for the old Joe Passov style of golf because we have par three, par three, par five. Oh, there's a par four. And what a par four. And we'll get to that. Then a par three, then a par five. The 16th snuck in another par four. Then a par three, then a par five. That's right. Two par fours out of 9 holes is what the back nine of Pacific Dunes consists of. And so with those par fives, I can bunt my 2 shots and hit some kind of shortest shot on for a third. And the par threes are all within reach for me, depending on what the wind is doing that day. So I felt like it just played to the strengths of my game. Beyond that, though, some incredible, unforgettable golf holes. And the fact that Doak and his team and Mike Kaiser put the green light to such an unusual sequencing to say we're going to have those back-to-back par threes, and we're going to have 4 par 3s on this back nine. It just meant that in the hands of a talented router, these are the golf holes that reveal themselves best on this piece of property. And so the heck with convention, with having 2 5s and 2 3s and the rest fours. These are the golf holes that fit the land and use the land the best they could. So 10 and 11, again, although they're heading in similar directions, 10 kind of goes off at a diagonal to the north-northwest, but it's long. It's 206 from the tips and usually into the wind. I mean, the next tee box is 163, which lets you know, yeah, this is going to be a hard hole no matter what. 11 is that much more spectacular. That is straight along the coast, just 148 yards from the tips, but everything going on up. Beautiful, natural looking, big bunker right in front of the green, beach grass and gorse and other great looking stuff and junk going on. You're just relishing the fact that you were in this setting and getting to play these holes without necessarily having to take a driver. Although, yes, driver's probably my choice at 10. Okay, so then what happens after that? Well, you get 12 as a par 5. Great dune behind the green. Love the way the green sits. And then kind of a center bunker in the fairway that influences what you're doing there. And then the final hole in that direction is one of the greatest par 4s in the country. Modern, classic, I don't care how you label it. The 13th hole at Bandon Dunes has always made my all-star list. My eclectic 18, my dream 18. Gigantic blowout bunker, just short / right of the green. Other bunkers, ocean and cliff left. It's just absolutely a joy to be able to play it no matter what you score. So, okay, we still have more golf to play, and you've got some fine holes that go in the other direction, which typically the times I've been there is downwind. So they're not necessarily going to play as difficult as all that. But part of the fun on those firm fairways is how short do you land the ball of the green to let it run up and find the distance it needs to find. That's fun to figure out. I know a lot of players would rather play that dartboard stuff, but I've always loved the across the pond experience where, yeah, I think it with the wind and the firmness, I'm going to have to land this ball, say 25 yards short of the green or 10 yards short of the green and see what happens. So you do get the last par three, number 17, kind of tucked in there beautifully, going up to the northeast, almost a Redan style hole with the angle of the green, fronting bunkers, and then it falls off I'm sorry, back right. So very, very much a classic Redan style hole, whether it's labeled that way or not. And then you go back the other direction, downwind, reachable par five for many. Good way to finish off an incredible round and feel good about yourself that you probably made a comfortable par or even something better. So sequencing, routing, and the rest of it. Love having pack dunes be the back nine be part of my fantasy feast of 36 holes.
Maybe it's just because you're dealing with the elements and you've been hit in the face with four consecutive par fours to end the front nine at Pacific Dunes that like I just forgot that there's only two of those on the back and it's four par threes, three par fives on that back nine. Um yeah, I that's incredible that they have that ability to just go out there and do what the land dictates and they don't have to stick to any sort of set in stone way of thinking about a golf course and the result is like you said one of the great modern courses in the country. um, Joe, I there's a reason why neither you or I are travel planners because if we would have proposed this itinerary and both started on the West Coast for a 36 hole day and then said we have to now get to the East Coast for our second nine, we would be laughed out of the room because of the time change element of that. We probably should have done these courses as our second ones to get there in time to play because our both of our fantasy second 18s are East Coast. We should have traveled back to the West to have time before the sun goes down. Instead, you basically cut 4 hours out of our itinerary to make this travel.
Al, I failed to accommodate for the time space continuum, and
Yeah,
I
but
apologize for that.
there's a reason that this is a fantasy, as unrealistic as it would probably be. Let's make it as unrealistic as we can. So, uh, that being said, let's finish up our lunch and go out again for another 18 holes. The way I'm going to do that is by playing the front nine first at Tobacco Road Golf Club, Sanford, North Carolina. Um, a place where there is much deception to deal with, and you're thrust right into that on the first tee with another opening par five that is one that I love. Um, your tee shot plays between two gargantuan dunes to what seems to be a small sliver of hope of fairway that you can see. In reality, there is a much bigger landing area on the other side of those twin peaks. So I love this as a starting hole. Um, Being that it's a par five and being that it immediately takes you, Mike Strands is taking you into something that you haven't quite experienced before with the rest of the entirety of this course. Uh, Second holes are really good, short par four. Third hole, par three to a sort of Biarritz style green, but a Metallica version of that, I guess. Something really, really amped up. Fourth hole is a great reachable par five if you want to test that. Fifth hole, reachable par four if you want to test that. You're dealing with these big dunescapes carved out of the land, waste areas. Sixth hole, short little par three, uh, almost like that spyglass green, but flipped horizontal, is what you're playing your approach shot over a big waste area to at the sixth. Seventh hole, really good, playing down all the way. And I think that is, yeah, that's a four. Um, 411 downhill to really wildly undulating green with great long views of the eighth and ninth hole from that fairway. Eighth hole is a par three with one of the biggest false fronts you'll see in your life. Ninth hole, 427 from the back, going back uphill to highly elevated green that if you're going to go right of the bunker, they've got a set of probably 20 or so stairs you'll use to climb back up to that green from the bunker that you've ended up in. Um, it's stunning. It is completely vexing and disorienting, but it's pure Mike Strands, and I love this golf course. The back nine is fantastic too, but the front nine is just sort of whole discombobulation of your senses, and you're trying to play catch up and looking back and like, what did I just do back there uh, on that hole? What was that? And now we have another one that I'm gonna play and look back and what in the heck was that? So uh, I would love to be able to play this one uh, as many times as I can. The best part of this list is that these are all places that I know and have seen, and I'm like, gotta get back there.
Al, you are one of many. Uh, if we do cult classics, cult favorites, and I think the cult of Mike Strands, and he did some marvelous work. But Tobacco Road probably is the one that continues to blink beacon like, that just says this is unlike any other. He did courses before that. He did, of course, an incredibly claimed renovation out at Monterey Peninsula Country Club's shore course. But Tobacco Road just keeps blinking, beckoning. And I remember the first time I was there, and we've talked about this in the past. It was as if, like, did Mike accidentally spill some apple cider on his plans, and things just got runny and messy and contour lines, and like he did this shaping deliberately? It just, like, for everything I had seen previous to that, it didn't prepare me for Tobacco Road. And it is a credit to the fact that there is an era of golfers who have not accepted orthodoxy as what's right, but embraced a much bigger world theory that if it's creative and inspired, hopefully it will inspire you in the enjoyment factor. Clearly, that's how Tobacco Road has resonated with you. I've softened on it over the years. And again, have to take notice that, at the people that absolutely love this place and golfers that I respect. Um, and so again, you know, Fantasy Feast, like this is where you'd love to go back to, solve this puzzle, then solve this puzzle. I think as a modern experience, Tobacco Road probably presents the most puzzles to be solved, and for the most part, it's an enjoyable task to do so.
I just take away thinking about score much when I'm there. It's a thrill to be able to take advantage of some of those holes that are risk reward and when you get rewarded, but you're gonna find yourself chuckling at some point during that round at trying to figure out the how to get the ball in the hole and where you have to hit it to do that type of thing. So, um, yeah, just approach it with an open mind, I would say, for anyone who hasn't seen it. Where do you go for your first of this afternoon spell?
Well, Al, since you as league commissioner decreed that we could only go with one private course of the four,
Indeed.
that narrowed things down almost uncomfortably because when I think about my favorite golf course, the one I would go back to uh, more often than any, except the membership having a say about that, would be Cypress Point Club. Recently, I had another trip around Marion in Pennsylvania, the fabled East Course, and was reminded on how much genius went into all 18 holes, but especially for me, the front nine, being able to remember each hole so clearly, the differences, the distinctions, uh, and the joy of playing there. However, I was limited to one private club, and in the end, I had to take the front nine of the course that I still believe is the best course in the world, and that is Pine Valley Golf Club outside of Philadelphia in New Jersey. And as I started to compare and contrast in my mind, can I go with this one or this one or this one? And I think about Pine Valley. And again, probably don't bring enough game these days to fully appreciate what it offers. But wow, what it offers is an unparalleled collection of great individual golf holes that still blend seamlessly together. Not just 18 or 9 all-stars, but they all go together. It's both an individual and a team effort. So I picked the front nine, could have picked the back nine, but the front nine gets you started with a remarkably wide fairway. A good player can cut off some of the dog leg over a sand feature that goes to the right and generous in front of the green, big green. This is Pine Valley. This is your handshake to the hardest course or the most memorable course or whatever label you fix to it. Oh, wow. Wait a minute. If you miss to the left of the green or to the right of the green or long, you are in deep caca. Ah, okay. So let's see how aggressive we should get on that approach shot. All right. Let's just get through this first hole and now 368 yards par four second hole, right? This is where Pine Valley lets up a little bit after that first hole. Forget about it. A reasonably wide fairway, not as wide as the first for this next hole. It's much shorter. And then a second shot that will give me a cliche: knock your socks off, blow your mind, uh, flip your wig, whatever you want to do. It is straight uphill over a minefield of bunkers that lines the entire hill. You can barely see the top of the flag. And so in this modern era, chances are good it's not a long second shot. But oh my goodness, it is as terrifying as you could ask for with so intimidating a target with everything in front of it. So I don't have to go through every hole, but you think about world-class par threes. You have the third hole, uh, described by some as a skull-shaped green. And believe me, it'll scare you because the right to left tilt is so severe. Again, finding the target is one thing, and then avoiding a 3 or 4 putt is another thing. Um, Four, they've lengthened in recent years. Again, big par four dogleg to the right. Then you get to five, 238 from the tips. You carry over water, which is not going to come into play. And then you have this little section of fairway in front of the green. Ooh, terrific. Along with these bunkers and then steep fall offs again, especially to the right. That's where Gene Littler found himself uh, in the first Shell's Wonderful World of Golf match against Byron Nelson in 1962. For telecast purposes, they gave him a 7. In truth, he might still be out there if they were letting him to continue to play. Just an absolute brute and stunning and spectacular. And you start to understand the magic of Pine Valley is, can you keep your nerve when every shot pests you so severely? Um, 6 is an excellent par four with, again, kind of a dogleg right, little cape kind of action. How much can you cut off? And then 7, only 2 par fives at Pine Valley. 7 might be the second best of the two, but you still have to deal with hell's half acre, uh, just sand and scrub and scotch broom and like being out in the wilderness. And once you've carried that in the middle of the fairway, which stretches all the way across the fairway, you got kind of another one right in front of the green. Um, yeah, it is just, again, another scary but ultimately fair golf hole because there's enough width in the fairway where you don't necessarily have to be intimidated and swinging the driver. But in the back of your mind, you are always thinking, what if I miss? What if I push this one? What if I snap this one? And then again, you're gone. They'll have to send guide dogs to go find you. 8 is a little bitty par four, Tom Watson's favorite hole. 9 is a much bigger par four. Both 8 and 9 have 2 greens apiece. Oh my gosh. All of a sudden, on this number one ranked course, and 8 has 2 greens, 9 has 2 greens. In both cases, I believe the right hand greens were added later. Um, and in the case of 8, it was such a small target that it was getting peppered with short shots. And just for maintenance reasons, I think they built another one in the 80s. But depending on where the hole's set, there's perhaps a better place in the fairway to hit it, and different kinds of trouble around the greens if you're there for multiple days. Uh, Again, when I think about a golf course that has the greatest number of individually memorable holes, 1 through 18, it's Pine Valley. So for my private pick, I went with the front 9 at Pine Valley.
I would encourage anyone, as I was sort of doing, as you were describing all of that, Joe, to go and Golf Digest has a great every hole at Pine Valley video that can use as a helpful visual tool to follow along with Joe's
Yeah,
description.
yeah. Beautifully done video.
And it's,
Absolutely.
I mean, I, it's hard to describe this place because so few have actually seen it. The video and Joe, your words to give it a lens to view and dream of. Pine Valley was our number 2 on the Links 100. You called it your favorite course, which you think is the best course in the world. Cypress was number 1 on our list. I considered the Cypress back 9 for its splendor as part of mine, but um, yeah, anytime I go back and see pictures or videos of Pine Valley and just wonder what it would be like to face, um, there are those places like Tobacco Road that are sort of like, if you can't play Pine Valley, you play Tobacco and get sort of a feel for similar things. But there's only one Pine Valley. And like you said, it's going to demand everything from you on every shot. And it's just comes with the territory. Like, you might get one crack at it, as I've had a few friends play it, and you, you're going to remember every shot because you only played it once at this place. So uh, I just can't imagine getting the call to play there and being able to get a crack at it. Hopefully, my game would be. I'd be working on my game extensively if I had an invite to go there.
Well, I've seen you play, Al, and I know your game can handle Pine Valley, but with every single hole you play, it's a little more. Can I keep this going? Can I
Yeah.
keep the, and then inevitably for most players, something does go wrong, and holy cow, yeah, it's merciless at that point.
I mean, I don't know of any other course where I would just be so on edge the entire time playing. Like there are courses I would be nervous to play because of their stature, but there's some respite and relief to be had. It just doesn't seem like that's a thing at Pine Valley.
Yeah, I mean, there are Florida courses, some of the top ones that have so much water on them, and if it's a windy day, they'll play as tough as anything,
Hmm.
anything you can imagine. And there's the penalties are so severe, obviously, for hitting into the water. But those are the kinds of rounds that not everybody really relishes.
Hmm.
Hey, this isn't quite fair. There's no place to really land the ball when the wind is doing what it's doing. At Pine Valley, there is width, and that's the key. There is room to play, just not to miss by much.
Well, if I'm going to get a chance to do something and play somewhere, um, I've been fortunate to do it once, but the second nine at Augusta National, if I could go back and do it all again, I would, Joe, 10 times over. Um, I don't think I'm alone in being able to single out a nine holes that would be more memorable and enjoyable to experience no matter how many times you do it. Because of its significance and tournament lore and brilliance in design, 10 at Augusta is one of the best par fours anywhere. Down the chute towards the McKenzie bunker, elevated approach shot leading into Amen corner 11, 12, and 13. Some of the maybe the most special three-hole stretch in the world. Um, 14, yeah, I continue to grow appreciation for that hole, especially the green complex at 14 is so um, exacting depending on where the pin is. You have to be in the right quadrant, um, or whatever the version is of 6, 7, 8 different pinnable spots on that green. You have to be in the right spot to attack any place that they can put that pin. Um, no bunkers to be had in that hole, which is something people forget, but plenty of challenge. 15, what do you decide to do there? If you have a good drive, there's a choice to be made, and I'd like to be able to go back and make a different choice than I did the first time, even though it worked out for me. I just like to be able to try it, um, and try going for that green instead of just laying back and pitching on. 16, the drama. Give me that pin in the front left again. I want to see if I can hit it in the right spot to have a look at one of the more thrilling rolls in golf once your ball is on the green and working towards a hole. 17 is maybe the one hole for me that I'm just like, okay, like 14 and 17 seem to take a back seat to the rest of that nine, but they're all world in their own right. If I had to pick a hole that would, can I sub this one out? It'd probably be 17. And then 18 is just an all-time finisher, through the chute of trees, uphill back towards the clubhouse, where so many memorable moments have happened, and you can create your own. So, yeah, if I could end and pick anywhere, and I have one private course pick, Sure, I could go play one of these places I haven't done yet, but I sort of want to play all 18 at those places. So I'm picking just a nine that I know um, I would be thanking my lucky stars to play again.
Yep, anybody that gets a chance to play Augusta National under any circumstances is under the influence of a bunch of lucky stars. No question about it. Whether you're astronomical minded or not, it's probably the hardest do of all,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
and certainly among the top ranked courses. So, Al, I had that privilege and pleasure once. Same in the media lottery for the Masters, and had a bunch of great memories to sustain me for many, many years. And now it has been many, many years, but they're reinforced through either attending the Masters or watching it on television. And and again, the excitement that built in when they flip the nines, all the risk reward aspects. Do you attack the hole or not? Do you go for the par fives and two or not? And really building back up a lot of those risk rewards that Mackenzie and Bobby Jones had intended to begin with. For tournament play, yeah, they've done what they've had to do to restore as much of the challenge. And I'm not going to support everything that's gone on with encroaching trees or changing a couple of the holes around from how they were conceived. But it's hard to go wrong with the back nine at Augusta.
yeah. What's your final nine? And then we'll end it with any other considerations.
I can't think of a more perfect segue the way this worked out than to go from your Augusta National to my harbor town. Okay, why the segue? One is public resort, one is the most exclusive major course in America. Um, Sea Pines Resort, I was fortunate enough to stay there as a very young guy in 1976, where I got my first look at Harbor Town. Didn't play at that trip, but came to love and appreciate that golf course. And as the years went on, and so many other golf courses have been built, including by Hita himself, that eclipsed maybe the skill that he showed at Harbor Town. But Harbor Town was such a game changer in its day. We talked about Harbor Town extensively on last week's podcast, so I don't have to go into as many specifics as I otherwise might have, but I'll tell you why I picked the back nine here. In thinking about public access courses, and I'm thinking about when I used to attend and cover the Masters and then go to Harbor Town the next week for the Heritage. And it was like the feeling of being in church for a week. You didn't run, you watched what you said and where you stepped and what you did, but you treasured it. It was a cathedral of golf. And then all of a sudden, church is out. It's over. Now we get a chance to party. And Hilton Head and Harbor Town is where the party took place. And so you have this golf course that's flat versus Augusta's hilly. You have folks milling about from the condos and homes with cocktails in hand, greeting each other. The players love the golf course, called for old-fashioned shot making now as then. And for me, it just symbolized my earliest underpinnings in an architecture education. That golf didn't have to look this way, it could look this way. That you could line these bunkers with planks, cypress tree, railroad ties, and create an incredibly dramatic and severe look. wow, okay, that hole like 13 is 372 from the tips. I would play it from around 350 or even 332. But you better be down the right side of the fairway and you better be precise with your short iron. This is coming after three pretty healthy par fours, which are the meat of most great golf courses. But then you get to 14, incredible little par three over the water. Yeah, don't go long left because those insidious pot bunkers and rough await and water's on the other side of them. And then 15 used to get votes as the best par five on tour. Had to be precise on two shots. Now, it can be reached in two these days, but pretty small green. And really had to be thinking about where you placed it to be in position to make your one birdie on the one par five on the back nine. 16, of course, looks more like the rest of Harbour Town for one shot. And then it doglegs to the left around the earliest example I know of a waste bunker. And there it is in the distance, Calabogie Sound. And the wind is up. And you've got these scattered trees in the fairway that you're kind of playing slalom with. Yeah, even a good drive might be impeded by one of the trees if you're not in the right place. You're right next to hole 10, kind of conversing and seeing with the other golfers there. And now you're on this home stretch. 17, a really unique, rugged par three, banana shaped green, bulkhead, gigantic bunker to the left, extends all the way almost to the tee, at least 90 yards or so. The water itself does come back to the tee. You're not going to find the water too often, but when the wind is up, yeah. So yeah, the right side is the place to miss. No, not with a little tiny hot bunker jabbed right where the banana folds. And then another bunker well to the right of that. And then long is wrong. Wind is blowing off Calabogie Sound. Really tough three to make. And then you get to 18. With all that room, as we talked about a week ago, you feel like you can blast whatever club you want off the tee. And then it gets really, really interesting from there with the marsh Calabogie Sound that'll pick up any hooked shot, an odd shape, long bunker coming out at you, and then missing with all that fairway grass to the right of the green. But yeah, if you just chip it a little too hard, you're off the green into the marsh. Um, Al, the reason why it resonates so much with me, just a great walk. So many happy memories there from family visits, media visits, covering the tournament. Of course, world headquarters of Lynx Magazine, and then having that lighthouse there as that ultimate finisher and knowing we've just had a really, really great round at an historic golf course and we're going to celebrate with a beverage. And it could be anywhere on Hilton Head, but hopefully you have one right in Sea Pines, perhaps right at the lighthouse in the quarter deck. And it's just celebrating golf and good times. And I think that's why that back nine does it so well for me.
It's so good. And I was so confused, or not. Just it felt weird because we just played this when they reopened the course. We did a shamble that was also a shotgun start. So we started on the fourth hole. So we got to that 17th and 18th, which feels like this big moment in a normal course of a round at Harbour Town. And the way we played, it's like, oh, we have to play three more holes after this. You're almost like taking a big breath, like, like wow, what an experience that was. And then you go and play the first three after that. It was just a strange feeling. But we talked a lot about Harbour Town in our last couple podcasts ago around the reopening. There's no course that that I have played where it's such a you need to think about every shot and where it's going to end up from tee to green. Um, it, much less on the par threes, but you really need to think about where you're going to miss on those holes. Uh, on the par fours and fives that weave through the maritime forest, you just have to know where you need to be and you have to hit that shot. Now, where length isn't a tremendous factor, angles are. So, and a harbor town just dishes out a hole after hole that make you think and keep you engaged and around. And um, this is also a course I've grown to appreciate a lot more. So, being that it's public and one of those great, you know, courses of study for a fan of golf course architecture to be able to go and see and play. A lot of it has to do with that back nine. So yeah, this is a great choice, Joe.
You know, I'll certainly acknowledge course critics, prominent course critics that say there's just not enough variety of lies and stances in the fairways, that the greens are really kind of similar without a whole lot of prominent contouring to distinguish one from the next. That's okay. Harbour Town doesn't have to rank in the top 10, if you will. And there are a zillion other places where you will get that combination of elements, but golf should not just be one thing. The beauty of playing all these different golf courses is, as my brother-in-law once put it, it's all ice cream. It's all good, just depending on what flavor you like or what brand it is. And for Harbour Town, for me, yeah, okay, that's the way the fairways are, and that's the way the greens are. But as you just said, Al, the opportunity to say, if I just place the ball here, that's going to open up this, and being able to think your way around without having to smash anything and overpower anything. Um, there's something to be said for restraint, precision, and quality shot making in today's world, in today's games, where it's not just big, wide open kind of golf.
Yeah.
And so I will always appreciate Harbour Town for that. And as you mentioned, the crescendo that is the finish at Harbour Town.
So in terms of thinking of some other places, I mean, it's funny. Pete Dye um, must have been on my mind because I considered the back nine at Sawgrass is really something special. That could have been a good choice. Recently, when we went up to Kohler, Wisconsin, as good as Whistling Straits is, Joe, I loved the river course at Black Wolf Run.
Mm.
I would definitely give that one another go, and a really good front nine, I would say. Just a cadence and rhythm to that nine as you're starting to work around that river that goes and flows through much of the course. Changes in elevation and shoots, and we played at a really good time of year where the foliage was popping and the salmon are running, and it was just a visceral, really good experience. Um, so I gave that strong consideration in my list. What else did you sort of think about that could have?
Well, the other one that jumped out for me, and I was thinking again of kind of the most prominent examples, but for a back nine candidate, Shinnecock Hills, uh, which is my favorite U.S. Open venue, and I was lucky enough to play it, but also cover two U.S. Opens there. Uh, Again, you talk about variety from hole to hole. You talk about severe challenge from hole to hole to hole. And, it's unfortunate that in '04 and in 18, there was a controversy because of some of the hole locations when the greens got too slick for the wind conditions. It's taken away from what I feel, and Johnny Miller once said it too, is the best, the ultimate test for the U.S. Open. Hopefully next year when it returns to Shinnecock. There will be just the right amount of wind and enough sensible hole locations that'll test the world's best without going all unfair on them. And folks will finally, with no asterisks, see how truly incredible Shinnecock Hills is.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing that one again. I need a good refresher on Shinnecock. All right, Joe, I'm full. I'm stuffed from this conversation. I don't know about you.
I'm, I'm usually stuffed, but yeah, I enjoyed this feast, fantasy feast, as you put it. Two great 36s and a good way to kind of conclude the holidays for November.
Yep,
And then we've got stuff to look forward to in December.
we sure do. And we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks for listening.
All right. Take care.